Now let us see how to troubleshoot a Helix Innovation Suite on-prem pipeline without a specific failed events. How you can troubleshoot. As you can see, this Helix on-prem deployment pipeline stage view, it is failing on Helix interrupts pipeline. Now, let us further check in the console output for this Helix interrupts pipeline. Simple way I always prefer is checking the Helix on-prem deployment, and from there just open the build which has failed. So this is the Helix on-prem deployment pipeline failure attempt. So as we have seen earlier, as we have discussed as well, let's try to look into the events which are equal to which are failed equal to 1. That generally tells us which is the failed attempt. But as I see this failed equal to 1, try to search it. I don't see any event recorded where there is a failure captured. But when you go to the bottom of this particular pipeline console output, it indicates it has failed. It has failed with some exception, Hudson about exception. It doesn't give us a clue like why it has failed. Now, there are certain situations in which you may not see the events which are failed equal to 1, but still the pipeline will fail. To understand and to get further when this particular pipeline is failing where there are no events recorded as such. So going further, this particular Helix ITSM interrupts pipeline, we will have to check about what this particular pipeline does. So Helix interrupts pipeline activates the BMC Helix ITSM Insights and BMC Helix Innovation Suite services for the BMC Helix platform tenant so that the services can be used through BMC Helix portal. So we'll need to check for the tenant activation and the login in this particular pipeline logs. Now let's try to start from this top section. Now let's move further. Going down, we will see some activities getting recorded with the TCTL commands. Moving down this line, you can see some TCTL get tenant activities are getting performed for this particular container. Now with the TCTL get tenant, we can see there is one response from the utility that yes, this particular blue is the name of this particular for this particular platform, and its environment and its ID and status is active, which is very much important. And the domain. Going further down the line, when we say there is this tenant ID, this tenant ID value, when system is trying to record, it is displaying it as a blank. However, this particular tenant ID, as we can see from the above top command, it is returning it back a value. So now that is something a catch. Why the tenant ID is failing? Now to move further, just to understand whether if this is just only a challenge in this particular pipeline build or there are any other challenges. Going down further, the TCTL update tenant and all the other activities will get through as it's in the sequence. So now here TCTL is trying to list down all the services associated with that particular tenant ID. Now in the smooth run or in the successful run pipeline, you will see a lot of services which are just like your ITSM services. For example, take a look into other pipeline which was built successfully. So in this, you can see there are a lot of services reported. That tells us that something is wrong. Something is not mapped correctly in this particular failed run. So going further, system is again trying to run this, get the output for the TCTL config, but it is not getting the value. Moving further down the line, if you will see, there are some TCTL update tenant activities are going on, but as we do not have the tenant ID earlier returned successfully, that has resulted in the problem. The reason being, when you will see this grep command, it is trying to grep it to the value which is cluster value. So now that tells us something is wrong with the configuration parameter which have been used for this particular configuration. Now let us look into the parameters which are used for this particular deployment. So when we'll go to the parameters section, in the parameters Helix platform deploy, we can see the platform namespace, platform domain, and here it comes the Helix platform customer name. So now the customer name is the value which you have used in your infra config value, which is a company name value. So now this particular value has been used as a domain cluster domain value, cluster value, not in the domain, it's a cluster value that has been used. And this is the reason why the current pipeline has failed. Now we will have to just correct this particular value using the rebuild command. Let us rebuild, change this particular value. back to the company value which we have used, then that is blue. And as we keep on saying, just don't forget to apply CSRts file. Let's deploy the CSRts. Now I applied the CSRts file, and let me just rebuild this particular pipeline. So once you rebuild, if this is just only the error, your pipeline will go through further. Thank you.